This movie was fantastic. I'm sure everyone's been saying it, but I'm just going to say it too, confirm it. The word iconic, little overused, but not when we're talking about West Side Story. Do you remember the first time West Side Story made an impact in your life? The first time you watched it?
Yeah, I remember the room I watched it in. I remember watching the prologue. Loved the dance. Loved the fact that it was in New York City, which is where I was at the time and where I still live. And then the music from the overture on, just Leonard Bernstein's incredible music, and then Stephen Sondheim's unforgettable lyrics. So yeah, you're right. It is an iconic piece of work, and we're so lucky that we got to honor it.
Yeah, if someone showed up the first time you watched it and was like, hey, you're going to be Tony in a Steven Spielberg West Side Story adaptation someday, what would you say?
Who's Steven Spielberg? Well, I was like 4 years old, but, But the first time I saw like The Goonies when I was a kid. I didn't know who Steven Spielberg was, but I remember being like, wow, what a great movie. It's funny, it's scary, it's like great characters. So the idea that now like getting to work with Steven Spielberg, who's just such a master of cinema and such an amazing leader, such a loving person, just like really was the honor of a lifetime working with him.
I spent a lot of time in my childhood in the basement with the television, watching old MGM films, and West Side was certainly one of those. And it was definitely one of the stories that made me want to move to New York and become an actor and pursue theater.
Mike, you are such a standout as Riff. I thought you were so fantastic. But I read that you had initially auditioned for Tony. Is that true? How did that process go? And was there a moment where you have to like let go of West Side Story and be like, okay, I'm not gonna be a part of it, and then get pulled back in?
Yeah, yes, there. Well, certainly every step of the way. I was initially asked to like come in and put a tape together for Tony, and I had done that. But kind of whenever you're auditioning or submitting tapes and things like that, you're always kind of like, okay, here's that. I not really expecting anything, especially. For me, being a theater actor in New York, and this is no snub, but I'm not famous. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a Hollywood performer, but it is that thing where it's like, you throw Steven Spielberg, West Side Story, this big Hollywood production of it all. You never really think as an actor that like, it's not coming my way. And that's not actually a thing. And so when they were like, no, we actually want you to come back in and, audition in front of Steven for Riff. I was doing an off-Broadway play at the time. And I remember telling my cast, like, guess what I get to do tomorrow? I get to like audition in front of Steven Spielberg. And I was just so excited to do that. I had met him before he had come backstage to Dear Evan Hansen. But again, it was one of those things I never thought like it's coming my way. But the ability to be like, I get to do my thing in front of him. I was very much looking forward to that.
Is it more nerve-wracking to be on the stage doing things live versus like, you're filming a scene and I can do this again if I mess up?
No, in fact, well, I don't know. I mean, I keep saying the biggest difference between theater and the film is that, in theater, there's 8 shows a week. So I go home and I contemplate what I did and I say, well, there's always tomorrow.
Right.
I'll try that again tomorrow, kind of a thing. And then with film, there's such a finite, it's over. That's it. We're moving on. We've run out of time. We have to make our schedule and like, make the day or whatever. And you're kind of like, well, that's that, I guess. There's such a letting go of that process. And I don't know. I enjoy both. Maybe it's more stressful to be on stage because you constantly have to keep revisiting it as opposed to being like, well, that's it. Kind of. I'm not sure. Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes was the one between you guys, the choreography for Cool over the gun. What was that rehearsal process like? What was the biggest hurdle for you guys in that one? Because it seemed like it was quite a challenge. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a really long process. Like we went, dancing in 42nd Street, not the musical, the place, in a studio with Justin Peck and his team. And it really evolved over time. Like I recently watched videos of like some of the first versions of it, and they were like, we kind of grew with the choreography. And I would say that the other Jets in the ensemble are like just out of this world, great, amazing dancers. Yeah. Mike's obviously an amazing dancer. He danced on Broadway before in Newsies. I used to dance when I was younger, and I still dance at parties and stuff, but you know, it's a little bit like I was definitely like not a very strong dancer, and to be able to be with this like incredible group of dancers, all who were so supportive and loving and wanted to help me become the best dancer I could be, so that way we could be a strong group and ensemble together, and that it made sense that at one point I was the leader of the Jets. Was like, I was so fortunate to have that. And it over months and months and months with Justin Peck, and then Steven Spielberg would come and look at it, and then Janusz Kaminski would come and look at it, and the Jerome Robbins estate would come and look at the choreography. We developed over months this great dance that was about a story and about a relationship between these two guys. And yeah, we also love that number. We loved filming that number. I love watching that number.
Yeah. What was great about doing that and having that time, that number in this version really encapsulates the relationship and the friction and the story for these two and what that is throughout the entire film. And so having had been working on that for so long, by the time we actually got to shooting, all of that stuff was there. You know, like we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to try and figure that out. We had been doing that this entire time. And finally, when we got to set, we're just there doing it.